What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back again with another installment of our Beyond Omega Level series, where we discuss the strongest characters in comics. And as we get closer to the release of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, the rumors about what characters we're going to see in the movie are all ramping up, especially speculation as to who the villain of the movie is going to be. Now, there have been a lot of theories, but some people have taken the fact that the trailer reveals that Doctor Strange has been having nightmares to basically be a clue that Doctor Strange's oldest nemesis, Nightmare, might show up in the movie. So we're going to discuss his origins and powers in this video, although it would be funny if in that video he was like, I have nightmares, and it's because of that guy over there, Nightmare. I'm gonna go fight him. It'd be kind of wild. So Nightmare was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and first appeared in Strange Tales number 110 in 1963, which is actually also the same issue of Doctor Strange's first appearance. So like I said earlier, Nightmare is actually Doctor Strange's oldest enemy. Now, Nightmare was originally a servant of the nearly omnipotent demonic entity Shumagorath, who does appear in the Doctor Strange trailer, regardless of what anybody says about it not being him. And I have done a Beyond Omega level video on Shumagorath if you guys want to learn more about him. I know they're calling him Gargantos. It's a stupid name. Gargantos did exist in Marvel Comics. He was a guy that appeared in one comic book and died in that same appearance. The guy was kind of pointless. But regardless, Nightmare gets tired of serving Shumagorath and strikes out on his own by conquering the Dream Dimension. Now, from the Dream Dimension, Nightmare casts terrifying dreams into the minds of mortals, and over time, the fear these nightmares cause become a sort of sustenance for Nightmare, to the point that he would actually cease to exist if he was not able to consume it. Now, the question has to be asked here, what does a guy like Nightmare do during his downtime? Say, for example, Nightmare's not instilling horrific dreams in the minds of people who are sleeping across the earth, and he's just chilling. Well, I can tell you exactly what he's doing. Y'all know what time. Y'all know what time it is. Don't act like you don't know. Don't act like you don't know. It's Skillshare time. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Now, for those of you guys who do not know what Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring and creative classes for anyone who loves learning. So you can basically invest in yourself and your personal growth. Now, for me as a person, one of the classes that I absolutely love is called YouTube Success, Build an Authentic Channel That's Worth the Follow by Sorella Moore. It's a really, really cool class. And the reason why I chose this is because, as you guys know, when it comes to my channel, Comments Explain, I let my personality run free. I let my personality do its thing, which usually leads to me rambling for, a little while about unnecessary things. But I do love doing that, right? I love just injecting my personality into the channel. And that's one of the things that Sorel talks about over the course of her class, that she basically talks about this idea of having you use your YouTube channel to showcase your authentic personality. And believe me, it's very important to do that. So for those of you out there who want to improve yourself, to take the next step, to make 2022 the year that you become the best version of yourself, and you want to take various classes to make that happen, then the first 1,000 of you, the first 1,000 of my subscribers, to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. But back into our video, when we first see Nightmare, a man suffering from insomnia goes to Doctor Strange for help. But we learn that the reason for his trouble sleeping is that he feels guilty for basically committing a murder. Now later we see Nightmare trapping several people in the Dream Dimension. Doctor Strange is basically able to rescue them by going to sleep and entering the Dream Realm. But because he forgot to protect himself with a spell prior to falling asleep, Nightmare traps him in the Dream Dimension. But of course, Strange is able to escape because that's just how comics worked, especially in the Silver Age, when villains were routinely introduced and defeated in the same issue. But Nightmare would become a very frequent foe of Doctor Strange, and really next to Dormammu, who we've already seen in the MCU, he's probably Doctor Strange's biggest nemesis. Now, he's also one of Doctor Strange's most powerful enemies, and is really nearly omnipotent and omniscient. So Nightmare's primary ability, as his name suggests, is to allow him to draw power from the minds of sleeping humans, which, as we stated earlier, he basically needs to survive. It has been revealed that if Nightmare did not exist, humans would collectively lose their minds, like literally. They would all go crazy if it were not for Nightmare. This possibility represents a big enough threat that Doctor Strange and Nightmare were actually willing to team up to make sure that didn't happen. Now, Nightmare is also a member of a team of extremely powerful entities known as the Fear Lords, along with Despair, Nox, and Kalaku, some guy whose name I've never been able to pronounce in 25 years. Of course, there's also the Lurking Unknown, and then there's Strawman, who's actually the most horrifying out of all of them. Although later, Nightmare would ultimately betray the team. Now, the leader of the Fear overlords is an entity known as the Dweller in Darkness, who Nightmare describes as basically being his uncle. Now, the Dweller in Darkness has also been adapted to the MCU in the Shang-Chi movie, and so that's another clue that may hint that we'll actually see Nightmare showing up in the MCU. Although the version that we see in the Shang-Chi movie doesn't really resemble the comics version of the Dweller in Darkness all that closely. But as is the case with many of the characters that we cover in this series, it's hard to come up with a definitive list of Nightmare's powers because he's nearly omnipotent, especially in his own realm. Instead, we'll go over some of the most impressive feats to give you an idea of how powerful this guy is. So on one occasion, during the time that Brother Voodoo had become Sorcerer Supreme, Nightmare was able to turn almost all matter in the universe to antimatter, and basically reforms the entire universe so that it's nearly identical to the Dream Dimension. Nightmare ultimately proved too powerful for the Sorcerer Supreme to handle, and Jericho Drumm had to enlist the help of Dr. Doom to undo what Nightmare had done. So this feat is extremely impressive because it suggests that Nightmare is capable of both matter manipulation and reality warping, which basically means he could do anything he wants to do. Another feat that shows off Nightmare's power occurs during Steve Englehart's character-defining run on Doctor Strange in issue number 13 from 1976. And in this issue, the cosmic abstract known as Eternity had basically vanished. Doctor Strange ventures to the Dream Dimension to seek answers from Nightmare, who'd been seen in a dream of Baron Mordos a few issues earlier. Now, once he gets there, Doctor Strange basically finds that Nightmare had actually managed to capture Eternity and plunge him into an eternal state of sleep. Now, once Strange frees Eternity, the abstract explains that because 1/3 of the world's population is asleep at any given time, Nightmare was able to draw on their power and over time just became ridiculously powerful. Now, Nightmare then infiltrates Eternity's dreams and attacks him from within to subject him to whatever nightmare he chooses. In doing so, Nightmare was actually able to manipulate Eternity's dreams to affect the world. This is because Eternity is a cosmic abstract that represents everything in existence in the universe, so his dreams quite literally become reality. And this is probably Nightmare's second greatest feat because Eternity is an extremely powerful entity, so the fact that Nightmare could effectively attack him indicates an insane level of power. Furthermore, if Doctor Strange had not been successful in waking Eternity from his slumber, Nightmare could have caused the entire universe to just stop existing. Now, in a truly bizarre story by Paul Cornell called Fantastic Four: True Story, we saw another absurd display of Nightmare's powers as he's able to use his ability to invade the human subconscious to infiltrate the world of fictional stories which reside in the minds of humans. Now, Nightmare's effect on the realm of fiction is felt by Susan Storm, who basically feels imagination and creativity disappearing from the world, ultimately leaving her in a state of depression. Now, she starts to realize as she goes to read to her daughter Valeria that both she and her daughter are afraid to read. So to understand why people are afraid of fiction, the Fantastic Four build a machine they call Jasper to travel to the realm of fiction, where they find that Nightmare is building an army to overtake the entirety of fiction. Now, while this is really strange, at least even just for a comic book story, the fact that Nightmare could corrupt an entire universe that exists beyond the confines of the Marvel Universe and is vast enough to encompass all of fiction shows us Nightmare's ability to invade the minds of others is insanely strong and can be used to alter reality. Now, Nightmare was also able to physically influence all magic users on Earth, including all the Ghost Riders, Scarlet Witch, Magic, Dracula, and even Doctor Strange. And like many of the demonic entities in the Marvel Universe, he is even more powerful in his own realm, where he's proven to be more powerful than Hercules, Ajax from the Eternals, Amatsu Mikabashi, who a lot of you guys know as the Chaos King, and an elder god named Atum. Nightmare's also been able to create his own plane of existence and was able to gain the upper hand while battling both All-Father Thor and Loki at the same time. And most recently, and I consider this to probably be just the greatest, most insane thing that Nightmare's ever pulled off, in the 2020 anthology series that was simply titled Marvel, Nightmare is able to take control of the Earth and turn it into a copy of his dream dimension. And then by doing so, and effectively feeding on the power of everyone who's sleeping, he's able to overpower and kill all the cosmic entities across the cosmos, the Celestials, Eternity, Infinity, Galactus, the whole nine yards, and then overpower the Living Tribunal. That at one point in time, Nightmare was basically equal in power to God. Now, obviously, this is not an exhaustive list of all of Nightmare's feats, but I think you get a good idea of how powerful this guy is. And I'm curious to know if you guys think he'll actually show up in the new Doctor Strange movie or not. But with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this to an end. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.